Hey guys, this is Courtney from Cosmic Clarity Astrology, and we are here today to discuss Mars retrograde. And I'm going to have the screen pulled up so you can kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about visually, and then I will turn the chart off and discuss for each sign. So make sure that you watch this overview because there's a lot of super important information out here that I think that not everyone will totally explain in as much detail as I'm going to today. And I would love for you guys to understand how this all works. So, Mars retrograde, a planet that moves retrograde, is basically, it appears to move backwards in the sky. Mars is going to retrograde for 2.5 months, and this only happens every year and a half. So we tend to feel Mars retrogrades more significantly because of how infrequent they are and because how short they last compared to outer planets like Uranus or Neptune, for example. So Mars is a super personal planet. It has to deal with our motivation, our desires, our action that we take to move things forward. It's also a lot to do with emotions like anger or frustration. And it has everything to do with the externalization or kind of that more masculine energy in our life. And I'm going to get a lot more into the weeds of what this represents and what we can expect from a transit like this. But I wanted to first point you to the chart to look at the timeline of when this is happening. So Mars is going to station direct on December 6th of this year, 2024. You can see it's at 6 degrees of Leo. It has this S, which means it's stationing, which just means it's slowing down so it can go backwards. Usually when a planet is stationing, especially a planet like Mars, which is so much more about kind of forward momentum and getting things done, when it pauses or it slows down to this extent, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. Tensions can run high. We can feel anxiety because normally Mars is productive and all of a sudden the energy kind of has nowhere to go and sort of sputters out. And so it can definitely affect us to a large degree psychologically. So Mars is going to be stationing on December 6th, and then it's going to move retrograde. So I'm just having the chart move a day at a time here, all the way until February 23rd. So it's going to station to move direct at 17 degrees of Cancer. So basically, Mars is chugging along through the sign of Leo. It hits 6 degrees, it stops there, and then it's like, wait a second, I forgot a bunch of stuff, I gotta go back. So that starts to go all the way back through those 6 degrees of Leo, then all the way through those degrees of those later degrees of Cancer until it gets to about halfway through, about 17 degrees of Cancer. And then it pauses there, and then it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to move forward again. So it's retracing its steps, essentially, that we are going through right now, because right now we're in October. So if you see, Mars is actually right now at 19 degrees of Cancer. So we are already in kind of this, the window of, I guess, degrees astrologically in which we will be revisiting in the coming months. So just so that you're aware, the themes that come up now, all the way really till December 6th, are going to be really prominent for us. And in particular, really October 5th is when we experienced Mars at 17 degrees of Cancer, where it's going to move direct. So that could be a particularly important day, for example. But regardless, we're kind of getting the themes that we're going to explore more internally over the next few months right now. So make sure that you're paying attention to the themes and the things that are coming up for you right now. So this is super important because Mars being retrograde for 2.5 months does kind of throw a little bit of a roadblock in the momentum of our plans because Mars is an action planet. So we might find that things have to encounter certain hiccups, or they slow down, or we lose momentum emotionally in our connection with that plan. So there's a lot that we're going to be reflecting on and kind of fixing and going back to during a retrograde period like this over the next 2.5 months from December 6th to February 23rd. However, what is happening is Again, Mars is all the way in Leo in December, and then it's going to move back through Cancer. So what happens when it goes direct here in Cancer is it has to go through a third time all of these degrees in Cancer and Leo that it just reversed through. And so what that means is that we're really actually not going to hit new ground in terms of things feeling like they're really progressing in our life until May 3rd of 2025. Let me show you this on the chart. I hope this is making sense. It might be a little bit complicated, which is why I wanted to show you. Because on May 3rd of 2025, this is when Mars finally gets to 7 degrees of Leo. So this is when we finally hit a new degree in which we haven't been going over multiple times since these last few months, or really many months. So again, I hope this is making sense, because obviously it makes sense to me because I practice astrology, but for those of you who are maybe not as familiar, the idea, let me kind of explain it in a metaphor, and then I'll get more into the nitty-gritty of the interpretation of this event. Let's say that you're going around the block and it's or a park, and it's a square park. So maybe for whatever reason, you decide to go around half of the square, and then you decide to turn back and go to where you started, and then again go back around through half the square. And it's like you don't actually make progress and go around the whole square until May of next year, when you finally decide, okay, I've reversed, I've gone over this 3 times now, I'm finally ready to go around the entire rest of the park and have some kind of completion or progress in my life that I've been mulling over since 17 degrees of Cancer, which was on October 5th. So we were really starting to kind of like get the initial the initial storyline and like the whole retrograde path that we're experiencing. That all kind of started to take place on October 5th. That's not when the retrograde happened, but it's when Mars got to the degree where the retrograde happens. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't, but if it doesn't, regardless, I'm going to get into what this actually means for us and what you need to look out for, because I think this is going to be really, really important. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get into what we can expect during a Mars retrograde. I have a ton of notes. I may write up an article about this because it's such a long cycle that I want us to understand what to be prepared for, what to look out for. So as I mentioned, the retrograde period is from December 6th to February 23rd. December 6th of 2024, February 23rd, 2025. But we won't be hitting new ground. So we're really going to be reviewing this whole retrograde cycle all the way up until May 3rd of 2025. So really from like now all the way until next summer, next May, we're experiencing this kind of reflection period around these same basically like 20 degrees of the chart with Mars. So Mars is mostly going to be retrograding through the sign of Cancer. It's only retrograding 6 degrees through Leo, but the rest of them, all 17 of them, will be through Cancer. So we're going to spend a lot of time with Mars in its fall. Mars does not like to be in the sign of Cancer. Mars is, again, a very action-oriented planet. It's a very masculine planet. It's a very sometimes aggressive planet. And when it's in Cancer, Cancer is the sign that the moon likes to be in, which is all about the feminine. It's very nurturing, it's emotional, it's understanding, it's compassionate, it's sensitive. And Mars is not like that. So it doesn't like to be in that sign. And so we're going to get a lot of themes that come up with Mars retrograding in the sign that may initially feel like we are having to kind of overcome something or rise above something, because a planet in its fall is kind of like a celebrity who's fallen from grace. They have a lot going for them, but they're in this kind of weakened position and they have to rebuild themselves in some kind of way or figure something out, rise above something. And with this being in Cancer, I think a lot of us are going to have a lot of themes around our family, our past, our nationality. And of course, we're going to be having elections taking place in when Mars is at 0 degrees of Leo, which is one of the spots that Mars will retrograde back over. So the election isn't taking place during the retrograde period. However, it is taking place at a degree that is part of the retrograde path. And that means that the things that come up during the election are likely to be revisited over the course of really the next many months until essentially May is kind of when we break free from past that energy. So ultimately, I think many things concerning, again, Cancer themes, which has a lot to do with patriotism and our nation and how we feel maybe connected to certain roots or disconnected, because Mars retrograde does kind of have us reevaluate things. So we can go through our, take stock or take inventory of what we feel is kind of what makes us feel like we belong to our home, our physical location, our family, our bodies, our nation, and what makes us maybe feel disconnected from that sense of rootedness or belonging or emotional stability. Mars also is going to bring up issues around women, especially like women's reproductive rights. I definitely think that's already very common out in the media right now and in the political scope. And I think that's going to be extremely highlighted with Mars moving retrograde. I think it will be a period of time where we are going to review the policies that have been recently established or in the past established for women's reproductive rights. And we could come to different conclusions around what we want those things to look like. In general, with a Mars retrograde, there is just common themes no matter what sign Mars is in. So these are things like projects being delayed or having to overcome some obstacles in getting a project out there. This could be feeling like you have to fight against some kind of oppressive situation. This could be having heated arguments with people because Mars is a planet of conflict. So when it goes retrograde, all that pent up energy of frustration and anger that you kind of have sitting inside of you or resentment, all of that can come to the surface to be addressed. Old emotions resurfacing, like I'm mentioning, feeling quite chaotic or disorganized. So again, that kind of forward momentum that Mars typically has starts to become scattered. It starts to become less focused or uncertain. And all of this energy can, again, delay projects and make things quite chaotic. We can also lose our motivation for something. We might originally feel like, yes, this is what I want to do. And then when Mars goes retrograde, we start to realize that maybe this doesn't totally align with us. And so a lot of us will kind of be going back on certain promises that we've made or things that we've thought about. And we can also go back to things that we've already shelved, things that we thought that we weren't going to complete or that we weren't going to go back to in any way. We can open that drawer back up, pull it back out and be like, why did I ever stop this? Let me reignite the flame about this passion from the past. So we can either let go of something that we currently have or reignite a past flame with something. We might feel like we want to slow down in general because, again, Mars is forward momentum. When it goes retrograde, it is literally sucking the wind out of our sails and in many ways kind of asking us to pause, to slow down, to reevaluate, and especially reevaluate in terms of our desires and our heart and what feels authentic and what inspires us. Because if we're feeling depressed or if we're lacking motivation or if we're feeling really disorganized or chaotic, something around this needs to undergo a change. And this is going to be especially important in regards to Cancerian topics. So things, again, regarding our home, regarding our family, regarding our sense of rootedness and belonging, regarding what makes us emotionally fulfilled or helps us meet our emotional needs and connects us with others. So those are all really common themes that can be reevaluated and kind of deconstructed during a Mars retrograde. We might, Mars has so much to do with our confidence and, again, the externalization of our energy. And so when it goes retrograde, sometimes we can become a little bit more like turned inward. Sometimes we can become a little bit more depressed, even stressed, or our immune system can kind of become weakened because Mars does partially rule over the immune system. So it's like all this kind of the external defenses, the way that we the way that we take steps to like overcome or accomplish something, all that energy starts to turn inward. And so we can use that same kind of the conqueror type or the warrior type of archetype, I guess. We need to start using that within ourselves to examine from a deeper perspective if the things that we have been working on externally are totally right, or if the way that we're going about them is right. And so it's almost like that kind of warrior needs to fight for what we believe in, and fight for the best way to do something that aligns with us as an individual, because Mars is all about an individual. And ultimately, I think what it's doing is trying to teach us how to manage our energy, because again, Mars is all about this kind of like drive. The sun and Mars in particular are like our energy batteries, even in medical astrology. So there's something here where it's like, if that flame, that inner spark, that thing that gets us going, ignites us, that is, we have to stop every once in a while and make sure, is the flame lit? Is the way that I'm going about my day or my life keeping this flame consistent? Is it burning really bright and then burning out? Am I mismanaging my time, mismanaging my resources, or whatever that looks like? And so Mars, again, has us really kind of reflect on that. And sometimes we might end a project or end a goal that we thought we wanted to do, or that we're really ready to kind of wrap it up. Maybe it's been dragging on for too long. Mars retrograde is like, okay, let's go back and finally review all those things that we said we're going to do, make those changes, and then finally put this project out into the world. We could feel like sometimes, especially wherever Mars is transiting in our chart, which is mostly in Cancer, a little bit in Leo. So pull up your chart, look what house you have Cancer and Leo in, but especially Cancer. You might feel like this house is a little bit challenged in the sense that our personal power can be diminished in certain ways, because again, Mars is about the individual. It's about our will. It's about our agency, our choices, our actions, decisions, and how we create things as a result of those decisions. When Mars is retrograde, sometimes things that are fated will happen to us, or things that feel like they pull us and sway us that are outside of our control, and it can bring up emotions around that. And so we might feel like that area of our life becomes a little bit more kind of wobbly, but again, it's so that we can kind of assess what's going on there through a new lens and be forced to slow down. If you don't have as much kind of power or in that area of your life, or if you have certain things coming out of left field in that area of your life, it is ultimately going to make you slow down and assess it and think about it in ways that you likely wouldn't if you just had everything moving the same as it always is. So one of the things that we can often expect, especially with Mars being in Cancer, is a sort of kind of reactivity. Whereas when Mars is direct, we can assume that we are having plans and executing those plans. When it's going retrograde, a lot of these things might feel like we're just having to react to the things happening to us and solve problems, or again, analyze things from a different perspective as a result of the obstacles that are popping up in our life. Whereas normally we're kind of getting ahead of things. I think it's best to give us this 2.5 months, give us some leeway in terms of how much we can actually accomplish through our own will, and take into account that there's going to be a lot more kind of reaction and problem solving that's happening here. So ultimately, this whole time is about, yes, we can still move forward. I mean, it's not like the whole world or life stops when Mars goes retrograde, but we just need to use this time to make sure that we are being conscious of our why and the plan or the ultimate intention behind each decision that we make, and taking the time to actually sit and reevaluate those whys or those decisions and bring, again, more consciousness to them, instead of just kind of, when you get a plan, sometimes you can lose touch with the why you started it in the first place as things are moving and you're kind of having to respond and create things, getting swept up in life and the fast pace of life. So this is kind of slowing down a bit to bring that consciousness around the original why. And if you're still on track with that why, or if there's some changes that you need to make because you deviated slightly from your original path. So ultimately, Mars is this planet of passion. And so all those things, again, can kind of be called into question. One of the deeper things with Mars is relationally, especially with Mars being in Cancer, there can definitely be some upsets that happen. And this is because there's usually some area of our life, wherever Mars is retrograding, where we are feeling like we're kind of having to, maybe we've swallowed some emotions of fear because Mars is a survival planet, or anger because it's a planet of defense, frustration or hostility or resentment. And we can swallow those emotions in our day-to-day life and kind of just push and move forward and try to get over things. But when Mars goes retrograde in Cancer, it's there's no way to avoid feeling those feelings, and they can bubble up to the surface and cause these kind of reactive or explosive type of interactions with people, especially when we're coming from a place of wanting to defend ourselves, because Mars and Cancer are both very defensive. This is going to look different for everybody, but maybe you're defending your honor. Maybe you're defending the way that you want people to perceive you. Maybe you're defending your sense of independence. Maybe you're defending your family or your country and what you believe is right. But we're all going to kind of have these defensive reactions. And when Mars goes retrograde, I think those are going to become a little unhinged. And ultimately, I think the higher purpose of this is to have us bring more, again, awareness or consciousness to those natural defense systems and kind of dig a little bit deeper. You know, why am I fighting my brothers and sisters in this case? Like if we're having an election period and we're disagreeing on who the president is, you know, what's the ultimate purpose of this? What's the purpose of an election? What's the purpose of the government? What's the purpose of having these debates or whatever? And are we losing sight of that when we start to fight each other? I think that that's going to be a very real thing that happens as a result of this Mars retrograde. On election day in particular, which is on November 5th, Mars will be at 0 degrees of Leo. So 0 degrees of a sign has very kind of potent energy in regards to that sign. Leo in particular is very concerned with public appearances, with ego, with the way that we are seen or admired or recognized versus not. There's a lot here around like reputation, and again, one's kind of ego and identity being wrapped up in that. And so when Mars is at 0 Leo, I just really feel like it's going to be a battle of the egos in a sense, and there can be just some really big energy around people's reactions. And I definitely think that's, again, something that we're going to revisit as Mars retrogrades again over that point. And I wonder, let me see, did I write that down when that's happening? Yeah, so anywho, but yeah, Mars is going to retrograde over that point, and I think that we're going to definitely be revisiting those themes. So let me just check on my software when exactly Mars will retrograde over 0 degrees of Leo. So it looks like it's going to be happening in that first week of January. So like really around January 4th, I think that people are going to be revisiting some of these topics that happened around the election day. So I'd be really curious if anybody watches this video, then feel free to comment below if anything's going on at that time. I am kind of curious because I didn't look at all this stuff for election day in terms of all the transits, but I did see that Mars is going to be pretty much exactly on Trump's ascendant. And for Kamala, the transiting Mars is going to be opposite her Saturn. So I haven't taken everything into account. I need to look at all the transits happening because that's definitely not enough. But I just think it's really interesting because Mars is again super prominent in these next few months, and it's having really different types of energies in both of their charts. I will say that Mars opposite Saturn is not necessarily favorable. So I am curious how that is going to manifest for Kamala, but I need to look at all of the transits before I can make a prediction of who would win. But I will say that's not necessarily the most favorable. Mars on the ascendant can also, it can have kind of many different effects, but Mars is naturally a planet of conflict. So I do think whatever happens, there is going to be conflict on both sides. Both parties are going to have some sense of conflict going on. Okay. So I think that, okay. On May 3rd, May 3rd of 2025, Mars will finally be moving past the whole retrograde path that it's been going on. And so that's when I feel like we're going to finally have some resolution to the things and the questions that we've been asking ourselves, or the resentments that have come up. And we're going to finally have that resolution in whatever area of life that this is coming up for. So I already mentioned, I think, these Cancer themes that can come up, but here are some others. So I think in many ways it's going to be hard to balance logic and emotion. I think that we're going to kind of be more reactive. Like I said, I think people are going to be kind of defensive or overreacting, losing touch with the truth in certain ways. I think that it is potential for the strength of our unity as a country to really weaken during this Mars retrograde in Cancer. And I think we're going to have to reflect on, or the purpose of this is many ways to reflect on what is patriotism? What is the United States? What is our country defined by, and our connectedness with one another? And obviously not everybody watching this is from the United States. So it doesn't matter whether you're here or not. There is that sense of, again, family, belonging, where I'm from, how I feel about things in my past. All those things are going to be coming back up. So some of us can be kind of reminiscing of things from our childhood, this nostalgia, where issues from the past from our family that we thought were dealt with come back up. And it is kind of taking place, around Christmas. So many of us could be going home for the holidays or seeing loved ones for the holidays and feel like these things are reemerging that we thought maybe we're over. We could definitely have a lot come up around personal boundaries. So Cancer is, again, they have that shell. They are the crab. So they have a lot in terms of like, what is my home? What is my safe space? What is my boundary that keeps other things out and me protected here in that, the defense of that, as well as, a lot around like individuality versus community or roots or family. Those themes can very much come up. We can have some questions around our own moral compass or our liberties or a sense of right and wrong, as well as like how we manage our emotions or how we deal with our defenses. Are we doing the crab thing where we're sidestepping and kind of being indirect and trying to deal with things in a roundabout or reactive way? Or are we being more direct with how we're managing things? And how can we kind of find a nice balance between these two? This can be a time of great transformation and change, where we're also really kind of getting more in tune with the cycles of life. And this is super important for Cancer because Cancer is ruled by the moon, which has, of course, its own lunation cycles. So it's important for us to kind of get more in tune with our body, with rest, with the period of activity versus, again, rest. There's something here around like respecting kind of like the timing of nature, the timing of our life, respecting the rhythm of life and the interconnectedness of how, everything is interconnected. So when nature is experiencing something, it's like we are being affected by it, like the changes in light or the seasons or the people around us, and how all those things reflect and affect our rhythm. And then the last thing I think will come up is a lot around our kind of creative force or our passion, our zeal. This is very much Mars and Leo, that retrograde period. I think many of us are going to have a lot of passion for what we believe is right, what we're kind of egoically attached to. And I think that those things can bring out certain questions that we're going to have to address. So one more thing about this timeline, this Mars retrograde period, we're having a number of transits that are going to be happening during the retrograde. Some of the days that are really standing out to me are January 2nd, and January 15th and February 3rd. So January 2nd and February 3rd are going to be, in my opinion, somewhat volatile days because Mars will be retrograding on the 2nd opposite Pluto. And this is right around the time of the Capricorn new moon as well. So I'm like really curious, kind of this end of December, early January, what's the vibe going to be? Because I kind of feel like there's a little bit of like potential for hostility and divisiveness around this time. The other thing that's happening is February 3rd, Mars is squaring Chiron. This is kind of a sensitive time where many of us might feel like we are being a little bit wounded or are, we're being a little triggered in certain ways. So I can definitely see people being a little more volatile or protective of themselves during these particular dates. The other date that's super important, and this happens every Mars retrograde cycle, is going to be January 15th. So I don't want to get into all the details about kind of the path of Mars and things of that, because I think I think I'm already not doing a good job explaining the Mars retrograde path without making it complicated. But one of the things that happens on January 15th, Mars is opposing the sun. And again, every time Mars goes retrograde, there will be a point in time where it goes opposite the sun. And if you know anything about books, there's something called an inciting incident, where basically something happens that kind of acts as a catalyst that spurs people, that awakes people, that takes some of the frustrations that we get from Mars and makes it really apparent around what was causing those frustration. If you're anxious, if you're having trouble sleeping, if something's bothering you, when Mars retrogrades past the sun shines its light and brings clarity around, hey, this is why you're feeling this way. And here is the event or the external energy that represents kind of this the root of this frustration or the cause of this frustration. So essentially on January 15th, it's like this turning point within the cycle of Mars retrograde where we're meant to be analyzing and reevaluating like our projects, our passions, our sense of direction, why we're doing certain things, if we want to end certain things, certain relationship issues and frustrations that we've been having with that. We're reassessing all of those things, but we're not going to maybe have total clarity around what the question is or what decision needs to be made or what we're really evaluating or why we feel a certain way until this January 15th date. And then it acts again as this turning point in which we're like, okay, now this is brought to light. Now I see the new direction I can head in. Now I see the work internally or externally that I need to do to kind of get on the right path, make the right decisions, clarify things for myself. And so at this point in time, it's like the inciting incident. And then everything after that is kind of building off of that in a way. So I hope that this makes sense so far. And I hope that you watched this whole intro. I know this is kind of long. If you did watch the whole intro, I would really love to hear in the comments down below if you want to give me an emoji, like if you want to give me a sun emoji or fire emoji to represent kind of the fire of Mars. Let's do fire. That's better. I would really appreciate that because I am curious how many people watch these overviews before just skipping ahead to their sign. So please do that. And then, of course, don't forget to watch your sign, which I will link in the description box down below. All right, at first we have Aries rising and sun. So for your Mars retrograde, which is going to be happening from December 6th to February 23rd. 23rd. This is primarily going to be happening through Cancer, which is in your 4th house. So for my Aries rising, where you are having this time to go inward and reflect on your frustrations around things or what feels like it's out of alignment or what you kind of need to get out in the air is primarily going to center around your home, your family, your place of living, the people that you live with, elements of your past as well. And I just pulled the Queen of Pentacles in reverse and 6 of Swords. So some of you guys might feel with this Queen of Pentacles in reverse, you might be going through questions in particular around your kind of the stability of your home, the rootedness of like, this is where I live. This is how much money I have in savings. I come here every day to put my head on the pillow. And it's almost like when the Queen of Pentacles is reversed, you might feel like some of that is upended. You might feel like your normal sense of groundedness or stability is taken away and it might feel ungrounded. With the 6 of Swords, some of you guys could feel like there is some kind of transition that you're going through. Maybe you feel like you don't have kind of like a solidness in the place that you're living or with the people that you live with or certain elements of your relationship with your family. You might feel like things are up in the air or undecided, or there's again some kind of transition. Maybe some of you guys are traveling a bunch and you're not settled into one place, or maybe you find that you have a lot of expenses come up and you are just, there's a lot of things that you're trying to plan with your money, but you're not exactly sure how much you can save, for example. And yeah, so it feels like maybe things are kind of in flux in some type of way. And I pulled this energy card, and this has a lot to deal with like adventure. So some of you guys might be planning for your next adventure, or some of you guys might be traveling again, like I mentioned, or you might find that that you kind of, or it could be the opposite. Instead of things being busy like that and kind of all out all over the place, some of you guys might actually find that you have maybe less energy and you want to kind of be more recluse or more in your home and kind of build your energy back up to prepare for maybe a different transition in your life or something that you're wanting to do next. So for some of you guys, it's going to be different. Some of you guys, it could be like a hibernation season where you're preparing for a big change, or some of you guys are in a period of flux or change right now that you might feel like things are again kind of up in the air, destabilized in your place of living, in your home, even emotionally, and with the people that you live with and whatnot. Those things, your normal sense of like groundedness is not there. So let me pull an advice card for this. So for your advice, we have the Salvation card. I'm not really sure what that's trying to say, so let me look it up in this guidebook. So the divine has intended you into being and given you the assignment to explore life through certain perceived limitations. You're meant to learn about life and its complexities, especially learning about how to be in community with others. So this could indicate that people that you live with, like your family or your roommates, could be creating a little bit of distress for you, where you're having to learn how to live with others and kind of navigate maybe some perceived slights or things that have built up resentment over time, or some certain frustrations. You might feel like those bottled up emotions have to be talked about and explored during this Mars retrograde period. The Tibetan goddess known as She Who Saves says that you will never be alone in life's journey. This compassionate savior goddess of intimate friendship will ensure that the right people show up for you at the right time, that your needs will always be met, and you don't need to know the how. That is her domain. You just need to trust. You are safe and secure, always in the care of divine. So yeah, I think sometimes Mars retrograding through the 4th, you might feel less safe, less secure. You might feel less supported, or like it's hard to get your needs met, or you're not sure how to meet your needs, or you need to adapt to certain things in your life in order to meet those needs. And that makes a lot of sense. If you, for example, if you are traveling, maybe one of the things that you need is you need breakfast. You need, a soft bed to sleep in. You need some level of like routine. And when you're traveling, you don't always have those things. So you kind of have to adapt and meet needs in different ways. And Mars retrograding through the 4th house can indicate a need to do that, basically. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Aries. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. If you want a reading from me, check me out at Cosmic Clarity Astrology. Cosmic Clarity Astrology. Do I say that okay? But yeah, that's always linked in the description box down below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Taurus rising and sun. So this Mars retrograde period is going to take place from December 6th to February 23rd, and is primarily taking place in the sign of Cancer, which is going to be in your 3rd house. You're going to get a little bit of 4th house energy there too, but primarily in your 3rd house. So when Mars retrogrades, it's a time where we reevaluate something. With the 3rd house, there can definitely be some reevaluating around certain decisions, certain concepts or perspectives about things. Maybe we had an idea of exactly what we wanted to do around something, and now we become less sure with 2 swords in reverse. Some of you guys may feel like you had conviction and now you're kind of going back to the drawing board, or you're not sure how something is going to like play out. Basically, it's like, oh, I want this thing, but maybe there's a lot of unknowns, and the Mars retrograde can create that feeling of like navigating through a lot of those unknowns, having to figure things out. And maybe you'll probably feel a lot better when Mars goes direct, towards the end of February. But I think you're really going to notice that the best kind of action and clarity and forward momentum really will come when Mars hits new ground, basically in early May of next year. So you're going to have some time to kind of figure it out. And I think being patient is going to be super important. I see 4 of Wands, the Hierophant, the 2 of Cups in reverse. So some of you guys could be having some kind of decisions that you're making around your relationships. Because the 4 of Wands and the 2 of Cups, which is reverse, it does bring up questions around marriage and partnership and community and the people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis, that we take their advice or we listen to them or we don't. And so with this Hierophant card in between here, there might be some ways in which you're kind of questioning the established ways of relating to people. So maybe you have had kind of a long-standing history with somebody and you communicate with them in a certain way, or you've had this certain issue come up again and again, and it feels like it's not being resolved. And I feel like ultimately during this transition or this retrograde period, Mars is trying to bring your attention to the way that you are going about this situation. If there is an ongoing issue with somebody in your life, I think it's going to be exacerbated so that you can communicate and kind of let out resentments and things that you might have kind of bottled up within you, and gain clarity also in your life around what you want with that relationship. And again, issues that might be coming up again and again that feel like they're not totally resolved. And I can see that this Mars retrograde is like, we're going to create maybe boundaries, or we're going to express certain emotions, or we're going to do something to be able to resolve this thing and create a sense of harmony with the 4 of Wands. Or some of you could, of course, end the relationship if it doesn't feel right. But it's going to kind of depend on person to person. Anything else, Spirit, around Mars retrograding in their third? So I also have the Passion card. So yeah, I definitely think beware of the passion in your words, because oftentimes we can say things that we don't mean, or we could come off a little bit aggressively, or it's like we can do damage and not even realize like we're being reactive, or we're being too emotional with something. And it is likely to happen at this time. And I think it's almost like, how can we use this retrograde period to stoke the passion for things that really feel like, that make us feel alive? Because you guys might be at an impasse with the 2 of Swords in reverse. You might be confused. You might feel like, again, frustrated about certain issues with certain people or ideas that you're having. And it's like, I keep running up against the same thing again and again. And it could feel like things are sputtering out, or like they don't have the necessary drive or energy. And I feel like this Mars retrograde period is about trying to reconnect with your passion so that you can ignite that fire and that drive again. So you can feel like, it's like reigniting the desire and getting clear on what impedes that desire or that clarity or that conviction about something. It's like, what is getting in the way of that? Let's clean that up and reconnect to the original passion or desire, either within the relationship or within a connection to a goal or an idea. It's like you kind of need to get back to your why in a certain way so that you can feel like you are on the right path with this thing, that you're moving forward with greater confidence and conviction. And again, not kind of like sputtering out. There's something I see about like sputtering out. Let me just see if Spirit has any more advice, Spirit, for my Taurus. Okay, I'm just going to take Alliance. Yeah, there's definitely something here around relationships. I really think the third house, it really does give me the kind of 3 of Cups energy, which is all about collaboration. And the third house is extremely social and collaborative type of house. It's where we teach, it's where we learn, it's where we adapt to our environment and pick up things from our neighbors and our friends. And so there's something here around establishing kind of like healthy alliances with people, strengthening your alliances, relying on other people, being open-minded. But in healthy ways, and establishing like the right boundaries and balance around these alliances or these relationships to support your passions, to support your goals, and not get in the way of those goals and passions or your sense of kind of direction in life. So that is what I'm saying for you, Taurus. If that makes sense for you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends. And don't forget, if you want a reading from me, you can check me out at cosmicclarity.astrology.com, which I always link in the description box down below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, Gemini risings and sun. Mars retrograde is taking place from December 6th to February 23rd. And it's taking place primarily in the sign of Cancer, which is going to fall into your second house. A little bit in the third, but mostly in the second. So when Mars retrogrades, it is a time of kind of reevaluating our commitment to something. With this being in the second house, many things can come up. First of all, there can be a reevaluation of your autonomy, your independence, your self-sufficiency. Do I feel financially stable on my own? Do I feel like I have the capability to take care of something on my own or not be in a relationship with others? And the things that take away from your sense of confidence and self-worth and financial abundance and self-sufficiency, anything that detracts from those important areas of your life that keeps you feeling stable and strong in who you are, especially again materially, but also emotionally. Those are the things that you're going to reevaluate. So if there's a toxic relationship, a toxic job, if you have really limiting beliefs that are coming up, Mars retrograde through the second house is going to draw your attention to those things right now so that you can learn lessons around them, and not continue to invest or go down a certain path that will detract from your self-sufficiency, your material abundance, and your self-worth. So Spirit, anything else? I'm just like shuffling cards, and usually they will flip out really soon. So there might be some energy here around needing to have patience, that things might take a little bit longer than you want them to. The second house, when you have modern astrology, they kind of conflate houses and signs. If you're involved in that, there might be something here around Taurus energy or kind of the tortoise, where things are a little bit slower. They require a bit of our patience and our loyalty or dedication to something. Okay, finally came out. Ace of Swords. So Spirit, what is this Mars retrograde in the second house about? There can be this kind of need to evaluate what your values are. We have Ace of Swords, Three of Swords, and the Emperor. Okay, I feel like you guys are going to start having a lot of clarity with the Three of Swords on the kind of, how do I put this? Like, the Emperor is the card that I feel like really represents the second house. It is somebody who is extremely financially stable. They are self-sufficient. They are a leader of their own life. They're organized. They have their ish together. They're somebody who's kind of like the entrepreneur, or the emperor, literally like the leader of a country, and this very strong, stable energy that I think you are coming into your own with. When Mars is retrograde through the second house, again, the things that are in the way of that are going to come up for you to evaluate. And I really see that with the Ace of Swords and the Three of Swords. I think that you guys are going to have new ideas, or like an awakening or enlightenment or clarity around these Three of Swords, which is things that have hurt you, things that have maybe been wounds or trigger points for you, like insecurities, fears, pains, the ways that people have people or events kind of have hurt your confidence, or that belief in your ability to be abundant or be self-sufficient, or the things that you think about that keep you up at night, that stress you, that worry you, that make you feel like you're not enough, or that make you feel like you're never going to have something that you want. I feel like all of those Three of Swords things are going to come to light with the Ace of Swords, and you're going to have new perspectives come up around them, new awareness come up around them, where you start to kind of not like buy into them as much anymore. You have a higher awareness around them, where you're like, well, I see why I was insecure in this way, because I failed at this one thing a few years ago. So of course I'm scared to go at it again, but that's actually not my truth anymore. That's not my current reality anymore. I can let that go. I can see how I've changed, how I've evolved, how my situation has evolved. And it gives you this opportunity to kind of make peace with the past by having an awakening around it, by not continuing to invest in that story in the same way. And it allows you to embody this emperor energy. And it's funny, I pulled the memory. So absolutely, this is totally talking about your past. And I think it could be even distant past. And it could be even talking about your family past, because this is a retrograde through Cancer, which is all about our family. So many of us can have really strong stories within our lineage and our ancestry about what it's like to be abundant, about what it's like to work, to value oneself. Like all those things are really written from a very kind of like a DNA standpoint, or from a, the way that we are raised kind of standpoint, where I think a lot of these things, yes, they're self-determined, but also some of them are inherited. And I think your inheritance around money and values and self-worth and your self-sufficiency and your own capabilities, I think are all going to come up for you to bring healing around them, awareness around them, different perspectives around them, so you can embody that Emperor energy with confidence. Any advice here, Spirit, for my Geminis? So I got the Focus card, but it came out in reverse. So to me, this is like you're focusing on the wrong things. Some of you guys could be focusing on like what you're not good at or what's lacking in your life. Some of you guys could be focusing on too many things at once, that your energy is spread really thin, which is super common, especially with Jupiter moving through your sign. Some of you guys could feel like you are losing focus, like you had a really clear idea, really clear image of where you're going, and then you start to lose focus around what exactly it is you're even trying to obtain. So there's a sense of like needing to reconfigure your North Star and your focus so that you are able to embody the Emperor energy, because the Emperor needs to know where they're going. They're leading people with them. They have, again, this sense of self-sufficiency, but it's only because they have a plan. They are executing that plan. They're waking up every day thinking about that plan. They're getting other people involved in that plan. And it's through those actions that they're able to become, again, really self-sufficient, really stable, because they're focusing on executing a solid plan. So that's what you guys need to do, is get super focused, dedicate yourself to it, and make sure that you believe in yourself. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Gemini. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear from you down below. If you want a reading from me, you can check out my website, cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I will link in the description box down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Cancer, Rising, and Sun. So today we're talking about Mars retrograding from December 6th to February 23rd, primarily through the sign of Cancer, a little bit through Leo, but we're going to talk about Cancer today, which is important because you are Cancer. So Mars is going to be retrograding either over your Sun, if you have Cancer Sun, or through your first house if you have Cancer Rising, which is very significant when Mars is retrograding in your sign. So ultimately, my beautiful Cancers, a Mars retrograde cycle is going to help you really evaluate what kinds of actions you've been taking in your life. Are you really on the right path? Are you really, are you aligned with your unique essence? Are you enjoying the way that you are creating an identity for yourself? Or do you like yourself? Do you like your self-concept? Do you like the way that other people see you? Do you like your career? Do you like your friends? Do you like your connection to spirit? All areas of life can be affected when Mars retrogrades through your sign. And when it's retrograding, you might really start to see that certain areas of your life kind of fall short. And you might start to see also your contribution to that, as well as maybe like what it is that you are really wanting. Sometimes we have to feel that kind of like depression or dissatisfaction or apathy with something in our life in order to realize, hey, I haven't actually been listening to my inner sense of alignment. I haven't been following my guidance system or my warning messages, my red flags. I've kind of let things pass me by. And now that Mars is retrograding through your sign, it's like, things are slowing down enough for me to start to really focus on that discomfort or those red flags or what my intuition is telling me about something, so that I can truly align with what my heart wants. And I can see here with this High Priestess in reverse, some of you guys are not listening to that instinct that is so strong in Cancer, that strong intuition. And I think for many of you, this is going to be around relationships. I kind of feel like that has been a theme for Cancers just in general recently. Not even just recently, kind of like the last year or two. But yeah, the reason I say that is because I pulled the Three of Cups and the Two upright and the Two of Cups in reverse. So this to me is the idea that some of you guys could be going through your selection of friends or the people around you, and you could kind of be like picking some out and be like, I gotta go. I gotta like trim the fat. I gotta get rid of some of these people in my life that are really not supportive. I find that, I've been ignoring these red flags with them. They've been bringing up certain emotions within me, and I've just been letting it slide. And I'm kind of ready to be either addressing these things, or I'm ready to kind of get rid of people. And I pulled this duality card, so I really feel like you're going to see the contrast. You're going to see the contrast of what it feels like to be in relationship with people in your life who are really on board with you, who are really meeting your needs, who are really kind of that soulmate energy. And then you're going to see the other people in your life who are maybe fair weather friends, or they are intolerable in certain ways, or they don't align with certain values that you have, or they don't meet certain emotional needs that you have. And I think you're really going to get this stark contrast. And this doesn't just have to be within relationships. This could be within an event or another area of your life where you're able to start to see that there is like these really good things in this way, but then this really negative thing in this way. And it's almost like trying to bring up such a duality, such a contrast here, that is going to help you spot the things that need to be plucked out of your life. It could be a habit. If this is in your first house, this could be like dealing with your health or your physicality, your body, where you could start to see, I feel really good when I do yoga, and I feel really bad when I eat a bunch of Snickers at night. Let me pluck that habit out, throw it away, and invest more into the yoga. So it could be that simple. It could be other areas as well. So you can apply it to whatever area of life this pertains to. I think many will be emotional. With this being the Two of Cups and Three of Cups, there's something that pulls on your heartstrings. So it's kind of like, regardless of what area of life it is, it's definitely bringing out your feelings. And it's, again, creating like a dissatisfaction or discomfort with something in your life that you're like, I cannot just sit and tolerate this anymore. Like, I can't let this pass me by anymore. I have to really like take a stand and like fight for what I need, defend my needs, defend my heart, stick up for myself, or like vouch for myself, or do the right things by myself. And I don't mean like alone, but I mean like to do right by somebody. It means to like, I think you know what it means if you know English. So I think that many of you guys are in a phase of like, I need to do right by me. What does that look like? What needs to leave my life? What do I need to stop doing in particular, or pluck out of my life? I don't know why that word pluck is particularly, because it's almost like you have like, yeah, I don't know. It's almost, I just see like somebody kind of in their garden and they're weeding things out. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Oh my gosh. Okay, this has definitely got to be about relationships for a lot of you, because I just pulled romantic love and devotion. So I think many of you guys are kind of going through the question of, what am I devoted to? Who am I devoted to? Is this the right kind of person? Do they really show up and meet my needs? Are they there for me? Or are they, again, kind of like not really understanding who I am? They're not really understanding my emotions. It's hard to communicate with them. When I ask for something, they give me something else. They don't really attune to me or understand me emotionally. So I feel like many of you guys could be going through that. And some of you guys could end certain relationships, and invest more in friends. For example, some of you guys could end a romantic relationship, or whatever it is. That's very specific. Doesn't have to be that, but there's a sense of like, is this person really on the same wavelength with me, or are they not? And that is going to become super apparent during this Mars retrograde. And you might have to make some hard decisions around those relationships in order to reflect what you're feeling inside, and what your intuition is telling you around what is best for you. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. If you enjoyed this message, if it resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarity.com, which I will link in the description box down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Leo rising and sun. So for you guys, Mars is retrograding from December 6th to February 23rd. It is partially taking place in your sign. So it's going to initially be retrograding through Leo, but most of the retrograde period will take place in Cancer in your 12th house. So you're going to get a little bit of that first house energy, which is significant for you. But most of the retrograde is going to be, again, in your 12th. So a retrograde through your 12th. So Mars retrograding already can kind of slow our energy down. It can also reduce our immunity, and especially being in the 12th. Some of you guys might find that you are like a little bit more tired, that you need to recover, that you need to go on a holiday or like have a staycation at your house. But unplug a little bit from the world and have some respite or some rest from a really busy time. You might also find that like your clarity and your sense of direction does kind of get a question mark around it. And you might have, again, more questions and answers where you're kind of sitting at the drawing board of your life and imagining and dreaming, and you're not totally certain about something that you want to move forward with. So it's kind of like, I kind of see it as like a transition period almost. Like, let's say you quit your job, but it's like you haven't started your new job. There's something about that period of time where you're trying to figure out like, what is the best kind of next step for myself? And maybe I don't have all the answers to that yet. And it's okay to be kind of going through a process of the abstract, of the discovery, of the self-reflection, of the self-analysis. Yeah. And you could also be reflecting a lot on the past, like how your past has kind of led you to this moment. And if you feel right about all the decisions that you've made in the past, things that could have frustrated you around your past could come back up for you to emotionally let go of them, especially if any of those frustrations have led to self-destructive or self-sabotaging behavior, or if some of those frustrations have led you to feeling unclear around who you are or what you want or where you're going. Those things can definitely come back up for you to be kind of like willing to let them go, or willing to feel those feelings and not let them creep up into your life in unhealthy ways. Spirit, what else do you have for Mars retrograding through Cancer in the 12th? Definitely quite a bit around like attachments, I think, can come up. Like, what are you emotionally attached to? What has been kind of your comfort, and what do you need to be brave and let go of? And yeah, have that courage to let go of. So I see Page of Swords, Eight of Cups, and then the Sun in reverse. Okay, I feel like this is a lot of what I was saying. Page of Swords is a card of discovery, of, again, having a lot of questions and being willing to kind of explore to figure out the answers to your own questions. And the Eight of Cups is somebody who is willing to walk away from what they've known, what they've been attached to, what they've been comfortable with, in order to gain a sense of freedom, emotional freedom, a sense of peace. I'm willing to allow my resentments to be released. I'm really willing to walk away from this relationship, or finally get that divorce, or finally leave that job, or decide that I don't want to be a part of this thing that has been creating discomfort in my life, that has been creating dissatisfaction. And I'm willing to go on a journey where I am discovering things for the first time and leaving behind the known in order to answer the questions that I have around what is my sense of direction. The Sun upright to me is like, yes, I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. I know who I am. When it's in reverse, again, to me, this is like, maybe I'm not as optimistic as I am. Maybe I'm not as clear as I normally am. Maybe I'm not as confident as I normally am. That's okay. I think sometimes we need to go through that process of like self-discovery, where we're redefining who we are, what we want, where we're going, and we don't have as much kind of external energy to put out there. And we're kind of going back to the drawing board a little bit. And again, just having a lot of questions. And so I think some of you guys could lack clarity, but it's a time of letting stuff go and discovering new things about yourself, so that when Mars does move direct, you can, at the end of February, you can start to kind of rebuild your life back up. But I think you're really going to start to see your life build up, or like hit new ground in May of 2025, when Mars finally gets to past 6 degrees of Leo. I think you're going to start to notice that My cat just looked through the window. He just scared me. I think you're going to start to notice that you're going to have a lot more clarity and vision and sense of purpose and direction around that period of time, especially because Mars will be in your first. So you're going to have a lot of energy. You're going to have a lot of vitality. Definitely, take this time to rest if you need to rest. Anything else, Spirit, around this? We have the Strength card. So yeah, I think that you guys need to rebuild your strength. You need to rebuild your courage, your tenacity, your discipline, your determination. But you don't necessarily have that when you're wandering, when you're exploring and asking questions and trying to figure stuff out. It's like the idea of someone being on a mission. Like, I know where I'm going. I put it in my GPS. I'm walking with a purpose. I have a timeline, a deadline. I have to be there for X, Y, and Z. And it's like when I almost get the sense of not having that. So it's like, oh, I just wake up today and like, I don't have to be somewhere by this time, or I don't have to I don't even know where I have to be. And it's like something around that where it's like, you're kind of having again, more questions than answers. And it's helping you slowly start to gain clarity and strength and courage and conviction around where you're going. So eventually you get to the place where you're like, yes, I have this destination, this time, and this purpose. And before then, it's like rehabilitation and bringing the energy back up, bringing the clarity to mind, and things like that to help you kind of, get back to feeling strong again. And it's really important to go through those periods where things break down, where things become uncertain or weaker, energetically even, or physically. It's important to go through those times because that's what life is about. Life is about cycles of rest, building, deconstruction, and growth. And we have to have every part of the cycle for things to work. So your advice card is independence. So some of you guys may need to detach from things that you have become like too reliant on, things that you have become like it's conflated with your sense of identity. So let's say you're always hanging out with somebody. Maybe you need to take some time away to discover who you are without that person and take a chance or a risk to go off on your own and discover what it is that you really like. Or if you've conflated your sense of confidence or your identity with your career, maybe you need to take a step back from that career in some type of way. Obviously, there's realistic limits to that, but you take this into consideration that it's like, maybe I need to take stock of like what I put myself into and conflate or merge my identity or my self-concept or my confidence or whatever with that thing. Maybe I need to separate and see like, who am I without that? Who am I on my own? Who am I when I have separation or, independence from that thing. And I think that that's your ultimate advice for Mars retrograding through your 10th house. So that, oh my God. Sorry, the dogs are barking. That's what I see for you, Leo. If you enjoyed this reading, please comment down below. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which is in my description box. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Virgo rising and sun. So for you guys, Mars is retrograding from December 6th to February 23rd of 2025 in your 11th house, primarily in your 11th house, a little bit in your 12th. So it's in this area of friends, and wherever Mars is it can create a little bit of like confusion, uncertainty. We can feel like things become a little bit chaotic, or we are emotionally having things come to the surface that have to be addressed. So for you, this is in the area of your relationships, your friendships, your community, as well as your long-term goals, your dreams, what you see for yourself, what you lay in bed at night thinking about for your future. So those areas of your life can become a little bit upended or be a little bit more emotional in terms of what's going on, drawing your attention more to either your dreams for the future, your relationships, in order for you to kind of make different decisions in those areas of your life. And ultimately, Mars in Cancer is about trying to reconnect us to our heart, to what makes us feel like us, to what meets our emotional needs. And if something is really falling short of that, or if you are feeling like you're not inspired anymore by a dream, or like a relationship is not meeting certain emotional needs for you, or your way of showing up in relationships or trying to meet people or the types of friends that you have, you might start to notice that like you're reflecting on those things and wanting to make changes in regards to them, or wanting to express long held resentments, or wanting to confront certain fears or insecurities, or even like passivity that you've had towards certain goals. Because Cancer is a very passive sign, and Mars in Cancer can kind of like deflate our sense of like adventure and action, and it can create a little bit more of like a reclusive type of energy, a less forward moving type of energy. And so you might start to self-analyze how maybe certain times you've pulled back from your dreams or your wishes, or you've pulled back from certain relationships when really you meant to move forward. And so I think you're going to have some really important kind of decisions that you're making, clarity around like, you know, how do I want to behave in this area of my life? How do I feel about this area of my life? And am I still on track? So anything else, Spirit, around Mars retrograding in the 11th for my Virgos? So we have the Justice card. So I got Judgment, Justice. Okay, this feels really significant for you guys. And then we have the Fool. Okay, and then the Eight of Wands. Okay, this is kind of crazy because 3 of these cards, Judgment, Justice, the Fool, are major arcana cards. So they are yeah, they're not in a suit. They're not like a wands or cups. They are standalone cards, which means that this is going to be a very, very pivotal 2.5 months for you guys. And even maybe again, all the way through till May, because that's like when the full kind of retrograde energy is done, in the sense that we're finally getting past the same degrees that we've been revisiting, even direct. So anyway, if that doesn't make sense, watch the overview, because I feel like I'm just getting tongue-tied. So with the Judgment and the Justice, I definitely feel like there's something in your life where you guys are going to be having to make important decisions. A Judgment card could literally be like, oh, I'm judging somebody or something. But in a greater sense, it's a lot about like awakening, ascension, enlightenment over an issue, and having to make decisions now that you have this enlightenment. For example, if you maybe you never saw something a certain way, and then like once your eyes open, you can't unsee it. And then from that place, you have to bring balance. You have to do what is just in that situation, or kind of the karma, the karmic wheel comes full circle. And there's this sense of like cause and effect. So I make an important decision that brings about this sense of like karmic justice, or a sense of balance. So let me just give an example. Let's say that somebody did something to you in a relationship, or some dynamic has been going on here. You can awaken to that and make a decision about that, bring that to light in the relationship in some way, and try to create a sense of balance in the relationship. And that could look really different. That could look like talking to the person and trying to bring balance through, you know, hey, I'm meeting your needs, but you're not meeting mine. Like, how can we reconfigure this to make it make sense for both of us? Or it could be like, well, you've consistently treated me like this, so now I'm going to leave. And that's the karma of the situation. There's a consequence to the action. This can also signify, you know, consequences happening to you if you have been making poor choices, putting things off, things of that nature. You could find that it kind of catches up with you to an extent, and you can see how your actions have effects, and you can make kind of like you can awaken yourself to the need to make a change, to the need to take different actions to get different results. So it's going to kind of depend from person to person. But this is absolutely talking about, again, your relationships, or kind of like your future goals, your future desires, your dreams. And I see that you are going to, again, have some kind of like karmic retribution, where if you've been really struggling with something, I see it kind of turning around. If things have been really unfair, I see that resolving itself. But it might be through uncomfortable decisions that you have to make, or through, again, important realizations that you have to have in order for those things to start balancing themselves out again. And then I really see like 2 separate sets of cards here with the Fool and the Eight of Wands, that you guys are going to have some kind of new beginning. So I feel like you're going to be kind of cut loose from something that has been weighing on you emotionally, like again, a relationship or inaction towards something that you really want, or maybe something that you've been working on feels sort of out of alignment now. Whatever it is, I see you being cut loose from that thing and having like a fresh start, having a new beginning. And it's almost like once you decide to throw off the backpack, to throw off the shackles of whatever this is, I see things will be picking up for you really fast. Like you're going to start moving really, really, really quickly, especially that end of February time, but even more so like in May. I feel like once you decide to have that kind of fresh start, you're going to find that a lot of new things come from it, and they come really fast. So anything else, Spirit, around this Mars retrograde? So we have strength. Okay, this is interesting. This came up for Leo too. So the strength card to me is a lot about having like resilience, patience, courage, and being able to kind of withstand things. And I feel like part of this is the judgment card. It's like having strength to be honest about a situation with yourself or with somebody else, having the strength to use your discernment and your truth and your judgment to see the situation as it is. And I think that oftentimes, you know, we can be subjective with Cancer. You know, we can have emotional attachments to things, and we can really want things to be a certain way. But when Mars goes retrograde, it's about us listening to what is at the core of the matter, to what is really affecting us emotionally, to what our intuition and our heart is telling us. And sometimes we lie to ourselves, or we get all caught up in our own web of how we want to see things or how we want things to be. And I think the strength card is like having the strength to stand in your ground, to see the truth and reality for what it is, even if that disrupts part of your life, even if that means that you have to have a new beginning, or you have to make important big decisions that can feel disorienting or scary at times. It's like, let's commit to having the strength to align with our heart's true desires and not give up on that just to remain in illusion or something that we are attached to. Anything else, Spirit, around advice here for Mars? Okay. We have assurance. Okay. So this card came out in reverse, and I feel like there's two messages. I think that Spirit wants to assure you that everything will turn out all right, but also like nothing is assured. So to me, this is a little bit, especially with the Fool card, there's something in your life that I feel like has been predictable or has been like a certain way, or you see the future and you're like, it's going to be like this. I know it's going to be like this. And this card in reverse is like nothing is what you think it is. You know, life doesn't always turn out like our plans. The future, in the way that you see it now, is not assured. And I think that this is trying to bring comfort because there's a new beginning that's meant to happen for you. And whatever you are attached to, or whatever you have planned, or whatever relationships you have in your life, there isn't a guarantee that those people are going to be the same in your life like they are now. There isn't a guarantee that they're going to remain like that, but that's actually in your best interest, because it's going to create like a fresh, revitalized type of energy in this area of your life. So that could be meeting new people. That could be having that relationship turn out differently than you thought, and that be in your best interest. And having maybe some changes that you make in your life in terms of what you're going after, because you start to realize that you were maybe going down a path that you had planned for a long time, but doesn't actually feel the best anymore. So there's a sense of like letting life take you in its own direction based off of your intuition, even if it feels scary to make big decisions around having some kind of fresh start with something. And it's like, it's okay that it's not what you think it's going to be, because it's still going to turn out good in its own right, in its own way. And so it's saying, rest assured with that everything will be well, but it may be different than what originally you anticipated for yourself. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Virgo. If that resonates, I'd love to hear from you down below. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I link always in my description. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. Up next, we have Libra, rising and sun. This Mars retrograde period from December 6th of 2024 to February 23rd of 2025 is taking place in mostly in Cancer, which is in your 10th house. So, Libras, this is a time of reevaluating your career choices, your career relationships, your sense of direction in life. Some of you guys might even kind of be really reevaluating where you live, or yeah, stuff that contributes to your reputation or your status out in the world, or again, mostly like career and life direction. I think that some of you guys could feel like there's some type of disappointment that either happens during this retrograde period or that has already happened that is brought to light again during the retrograde period where you're kind of reflecting on it. I definitely see the Mars retrograde as bringing up this nostalgia or emotions or events from the past, things that we maybe haven't fully processed, especially in regards to, again, your career. So let's say, for example, that you were passed up on a promotion like a year ago. You might find that during this time you are reflecting on that perceived failure and you are feeling the emotions around that as you are trying to reflect on, what's next for me? Do I feel like I have space at this company? Do I feel like I have room to grow here, in this career path or this direction that I've chosen? And so again, you guys might, with this 5 of Cups and the 3 of Swords, there's usually some kind of like disappointment or like a defeat or a sadness around something that was lost or something that it no longer is. Maybe you are reflecting on, a time when you were younger, a time where you were doing an activity or a type of career that you really did enjoy and it's not here anymore. And you're like, oh, I feel this like nostalgia and this longing of this time that I had something that I no longer have. Or it could be the opposite where something difficult happened and you're kind of reflecting or feeling into what, just those old emotions, the residue around that experience, like I mentioned. So, yeah, it's like, what is success and what is failure and what are our feelings about how we fall on that, I guess, like that line of that scale of like what, do we feel successful? Do we feel like we're moving in the right direction? Do we feel like certain parts of our life haven't like matched the timeline that we wanted, or we're maybe not like who we thought we would be, or we could feel behind, or we could feel like, again, some kind of disappointment with something that has happened that didn't turn out the way that we thought. And it's almost like we have to, and I think for many of us this will be about the past, but I think it's like having to make peace with that, having to let some of the attachment to that go. And I can see that with the stillness card. This is your advice. And also the candle that I have lit here is like making a lot of noise, and it didn't with any of the other groups. So I almost feel like there could be kind of like a lot of chatter or influence that comes from the outside, that comes from the world, that could kind of get in your own head or kind of distract you. And I feel like part of this stillness card is, let me actually read it from the deck, because I feel like it's trying to create like a sense of peace around where your life is at right now, and like, and also help you evaluate what would make you really emotionally fulfilled as you move forward in your life. So some days you are frozen, stuck, and unable to move due to the effects of emotional denial and resistance to what is in front of you. Or maybe you are exhausted, spent from the emotional burden of your current situation. The winter goddess has come to help you move out and past this experience into a healthier state of stillness. When you're frozen, it's the ego that is refusing to accept life on life's terms, potentially causing fear and depression, which is super common in Mars retrograde if you watch my overview. A particular situation or person may be causing you to see yourself as a victim. The goddess reminds you that this is but a temporary moment in millions of moments of your life. The task she has for you is to answer one question. Will you trust the great goddess in the universe to be your active partner in co-creating? If so, slow down and let your troubles go. You will see the miracles that life has to offer you. So yeah, there's definitely something here around having to find find peace with something that has happened. Make peace with where you're at in life, or with disappointments or whatever has, again, affected you emotionally. Let go of that. And it could be that you are, again, evaluating what you want next, but this isn't necessarily the time to get really like, I'm going to move forward. I have all the stuff I want to accomplish. This is a card that's trying to bring you towards stillness. So if you've been at a standstill, it's trying to see why things haven't been moving forward in the way that you want. So let's say you have had certain ideas or dreams for your career, for example, or your place of living, or having a family. If you feel like things aren't moving forward with that, you might be in a process of mourning, and you might feel like forcefully stuck. And I feel like this card is trying to say it is a time to be still. It is a time for things to not be super active, but coming from a place of like peace and release the disappointment of something not working out. And from that place, I really feel like you're going to come into a phase of feeling a lot more confident. Like once you kind of get unstuck out of this energy, I can see that you're going to rewrite the story in a lot of ways. With the Page of Swords in reverse and the Queen of Wands upright, this is somebody that I feel like is... They're deciding to take the situation and mold it differently. So I'm not going to view this as a victim. I'm not going to see myself as a failure. I'm not going to see this thing not working out as like a detriment. I'm going to decide to rewrite the story, Page of Wands in reverse, and use it to create fuel for more confidence in myself. Like I see the meaning and the purpose behind this. I see the timing of this. I understand that this happened for a reason. And I can trust myself. I can trust the universe. I have faith in my abilities to have a different kind of outcome in the future, and that maybe it just wasn't the time now. And it's like kind of building yourself back up, building your confidence and your resolution around whatever this is back up. That's kind of what I'm seeing for you. Any last cards? Okay, we have purification. Yeah, definitely a lot around letting something go. And some of you guys might find that there needs to be a purification happening in your diet, in your belongings, like getting rid of old stuff, getting rid of old thoughts or old emotions, or just kind of clearing the way in your life right now. With this Mars moving retrograde in your 10th, maybe there are old goals or things that weren't totally accomplished, or things that you need to tie up loose ends with, or make peace with letting it go. It's like, let's just clear the plate and get really certain around what it is that we want, why we want it. And then when Mars moves direct on the 23rd of February, we can start to move forward with that again. But we have to maybe just, again, kind of clear all those loose ends up emotionally and materially to be ready for this new thing to come into our life that maybe didn't come when we wanted it to, but it's going to come later. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Libra. If that resonates, I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, you can always check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I link in my description. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Scorpio, rising, and sun. So for you guys, you're going to have Mars retrograding through your 9th house from December 6th to February 23rd of 2025. And ultimately, a Mars retrograde period is about kind of like self-inventory, self-evaluation, checking in with our hearts, checking in with, especially in the 9th house, like what we see for our future and what inspires us, what like gives us a sense of adventure or drive. And also, like, if the same ways that we are viewing life and the beliefs that we have about our life are suiting us, or if we need to kind of, again, reevaluate those, of maybe I'm headed in this direction and it's not right, or the way that I have a belief around something isn't right, isn't serving me, and it's not going to get me to where I'm trying to go. So I feel like the Mars retrograde period is about, again, reevaluating all those things. And ultimately, I think it can kind of like bring us, especially in the 9th house, to a point of like hopelessness or despair, or make us question our version of reality or our version of what we want out of life. And it can bring us low so that it ultimately lifts us high. So it's almost like we have to go through this whole like process of regeneration, of losing hope in something, losing faith in something, maybe even yourself losing confidence in something or optimism, and then feeling like you're rebuilding from there. You're seeing why you lost that hope, or what was dragging you down, or what was kind of getting in the way for you of making progress and being committed to the idea that, again, you can do it, and you believe, and you have faith, and you're hopeful about it. So it's like it's taking you down again to make you question certain things or reevaluate certain things, to build you back up, to be stronger in your conviction, stronger in your faith around your path or what you want or where you're going. So, let me talk about some of these cards that I pulled. First of all, with the Death and Magic card, I feel like this very much relates to that cycle of breaking it down to build back up, and that's what the magic really is the process of the rebuilding. I also pulled the Secrets in reverse, so I think that there are things that like were unspoken or were not known that I think are going to be coming out now, and you're going to start to see more of things for how they are. And I think that that's why it's going to, like, the faith or the hope about something is going to be broken down, because like you can think that something is some way, and then when you're actually in it and you experience all of it and the secrets come to light, or whatever, the nuances come to light, you're like, this isn't really what I thought it was, or I'm a little disappointed by this thing, or this thing is kind of like a letdown, and you're just really, again, like seeing that person or that situation or whatever it is for its full like capacity, and it can feel like you kind of lose faith in it, but you might decide to walk away from it. You might decide to make different decisions, because you might realize like, oh, actually, now that I see this whole thing for what it is, I don't believe in what this is doing for my life. I don't have faith in it. So I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to create, like, I'm going to invest my energy here, which does build up my sense of hope. So if this is a person, for example, they could disappoint you, and then you might realize like, I want to put my energy elsewhere. Or they might, you might start a job, and you might be like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And so you decide to kind of start putting energy into another area. And it doesn't have to be that you're always going to another area, but there's just some sense of like, the way I'm viewing this thing, or the way I'm investing into this thing for my future, I'm losing hope in it, and I need to either view it from a new perspective, or try something new with it, or go in a new direction in order to build up that hope in faith in something again. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I feel like whatever this was in your life, it might have been something that you were like that you dove into quite rapidly with the Page of Wands, like something that you wholeheartedly gave yourself to, that you just dove in with two feet first, and you were like really optimistic and had like this sense of, again, like almost like naivete, but also like this faith of like, it's gonna work out. And then the Five of Cups is like, well, it kind of disappointed me, actually. That thing kind of let me down, or it wasn't what I imagined it to be. And then with the Temperance in reverse, I can make you feel just really like off kilter, because the Temperance upright is a lot about moderation and patience and feeling really balanced and like in a very healed kind of perspective. When it's in reverse, it could be something that creates imbalance in your life. You might start spending a lot of money, or you might start spending too much time worrying about this thing, or you might feel like you don't get good enough sleep, or you might feel like you don't get enough time with friends, or this person is taking away from your peace. It's like something around this situation, this person creates an imbalance in your life, and you're like, actually, I don't want that anymore. I don't feel good about that anymore. And so I think that you're going to make some, again, necessary changes here in order to rebuild yourself. And I see that with the Nine of Pentacles. I can see that you're starting to kind of go off on your own and build up yourself. This could be trying to make more money. This could be trying to be more independent and separate from something that you were invested in that was, again, creating an imbalance. It's like, I'm going to go off on my own. I'm going to rebuild whatever this was kind of destroying. And I think in many ways you're going to be taking this time to like explore yourself and your inner world with the Hermit and the Eight of Swords. And I really see that because the ninth house is very spiritual, and it's a time where we can be kind of like reconnecting to our soul and our spirit. And I think that that's what you're going to be doing in terms of looking at like, why did I feel like I lost hope? Why did I feel like I became anxious? Why did I feel like I became imbalanced in this area of my life? What was the cause of this? What was the problem here? How can I fix this? How can I come back to my center? How can I reconnect to my kind of my soul path and what fills me up spiritually? And I think ultimately that's what you guys are going to be doing at this time. So the advice that I got is this fertility card. And I feel like the beautiful thing about the watermelon or this fertility is this sense of abundance and the ability to create more of what you desire, and the fact that you have agency in that. And so if you are in a situation that has left you a little bit disappointed or hopeless or imbalanced in your life, it's like, what if I can create my ideal life? What if I can make my dream life? What if I can find my dream relationship? What if I don't have to be involved in this situation or this relationship or this event or whatever that throws me off? What if I can actually be in something that builds me up and helps me pursue more and grow more and be more and meets my expectations and helps me feel like I have something to look forward to in my life or whatever that is. So there's this sense of like being able to just seeing how you can create the life that you really desire. You have the kind of fertile magic within you, and nothing is predetermined, nothing is stuck. And if something has let you down, you have the potential to make something even more fruitful in your life than whatever that was. So if this resonates, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. It might not resonate yet because it hasn't transpired yet, but please let me know in the future. If you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I link in my description box always. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius rising and sun. Mars is going to be retrograding through your 8th house primarily as it moves through the sign of Cancer. And this retrograde period is going to start on December 6th all the way to February 23rd. It will be starting off in Leo, but it's primarily going to be moving through Cancer in your 8th house. So we're going to focus on that one. So what can you expect? So first of all, Mars, whenever it's going retrograde, it turns our energy inward, and it can kind of deflate some of our confidence and our sense of self and our kind of like, our courage, our conviction to move forward with things. We might lose passion with things. And when it's in the 8th house is already a very sensitive house. And I could just see maybe some anxiety coming up when Mars retrogrades here. Some fears like, oh, I'm scared that this thing is going to happen. And kind of like that playing on your mind a little bit more, your consciousness. And I could also see that this may affect relationships, because the 8th house is where many things that we've learned and skills that we've learned in the 7th house around partnership kind of get tested, and we start to have to come together in a way where we have to rely on somebody else or we're vulnerable with somebody else. And so when Mars retrogrades here, I feel like there's a number of things that can happen. Again, those fears might come up. You might feel like things from the past kind of resurface of like nightmares or again, like, oh, I don't want that to happen. And my mind is kind of going there. You could also be in a phase where stuff with relationships come back up that you thought was maybe resolved, or you just energetically like weren't tapped into, and now it's very present for you and you're feeling it, and the emotions from maybe situations of the past are coming back up in a relationship. And it's like, I think it can kind of test our ability to express some of the fears or the frustrations or the uncertainties or the insecurities or the baggage that we have or the whatever in our dynamic with others and our ability to work together with others. And I think ultimately this period of time is trying to bring you together. It's trying to create this kind of solidness of I'm able to rely on my community. I'm able to lean more on this relationship that I'm in, or if I'm going through something and I'm experiencing fear or doubt, I can talk to a therapist or a friend and get this kind of like reprieve, I guess, from the people around me. So I think the Mars retrograde period is going to show you where you have some of these emotions or these vulnerabilities and where you can lean on other people more. And I really see that with this Three of Pentacles is a sense of being supported by somebody else, being loved and a part of something, so that you don't feel alone in whatever you are experiencing. Or if there's things that get in the way of your intimacy and connection with others, the Mars retrograde period will help you work through that in order to create a stronger bond. I also think that this time you're going to be quite psychic with the High Priestess. And if you have been ignoring your intuition or kind of overlooking things, or just like, I'm not going to address that feeling or that gut instinct that I have. I'm just going to, like, I feel like this Mars retrograde period is re-engaging with that. You're like, no, I feel this. I am going to listen to this. And I see the consequences of not listening to it. So I'm definitely not going to be in that energy. So I feel like you guys, again, are going to be really, really intuitive. And with this Four of Swords, this is an energy of somebody who is kind of coming back to themselves, and they are reflecting. They are reconsidering something, like how they feel about something. And I feel like you guys are ultimately doing this in a lot of ways for probably many things in your life, because, or at least one thing in your life, because the 8th house is often associated with death. And I feel like there is something that with the Four of Swords and then the Knight of Pentacles in reverse after, there's something that I think that you're going to realize that you don't want to finish. Alternatively, you could also realize why you haven't finished it. If there's something in your life that you said that you want to do, or you want to invest into, or you had an idea, or whatever it is, you made a plan and then you didn't follow through, I can see you starting to dig deeper as to why that is. What was the fear or the obstacle or whatever that is creeping up and preventing that action? And then others of you, I think, are going to do this self-evaluation and reflection and realize that this kind of goal that you had, or the sense of direction, or this desire, or this idea isn't actually feeling good anymore. And you might want to just walk away. You might realize that there are certain things in your life where you may have felt like you don't want to put that level of responsibility towards something. You don't want to be loyal to it. You want to, And there could be things in your life that you felt like weren't loyal to you or didn't support you. And so you're leaving that person or that situation. So it can kind of vary a lot, but it's really a question of like, let's reflect on our life, on things that we thought we would be stabilized in or thought we would be invested in, and that either let us down or we don't want to be a part of it anymore. And we're reconsidering based off of how we're feeling and checking in with our heart's true desires. And part of your advice for this time is to practice gratitude, because I think ultimately sometimes these feelings can get the better of us, and we can focus on the things that are leaving our life, or the things that disappointed us, or the things that we're deciding to, focus on that might disrupt us in some ways. And this gratitude card, I feel like, is telling you to try to focus on not just what you want, but also like what you already have that you are really happy with, the things that are going right, and try to invest more energy into all the things that are going right in your life. Your other advice card is this co-creation. So I think that this is ultimately a time of recognizing where you want to invest your time and energy, and realizing that you have these powers of manifestation, and it's your opportunity right now to decide kind of what you want your life to look like. And if something doesn't suit, if your intuition is telling you something about someone or something that you're like, this doesn't feel right, this is your time to co-create with the universe, to listen to those signs, to listen to those feelings, and move out of that, or try to create something different for yourself that feels like you're not trapped, but like you're growing, or you are more authentic, or you're safer, whatever it is, that feeling that is you're looking for. But I think safety is a big part of that. So that is what I see for you, Sagittarius. If this resonates, please let me know in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, you can always check me out at cosmicclarity.astrology.com, which I will link in the description box down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Capricorn rising and sun. So Mars will be retrograding from December 6th to February 23rd. And it's primarily going to be retrograding through Cancer, a little bit in Leo. We're going to focus on Cancer in this reading. So Mars retrograding through Cancer is going to fall into your 7th house as a Capricorn rising. And so you guys might notice that there are some issues that come up specifically in relationships, because the 7th house is our house of contracts, of agreements, of marriages, of partnerships, of deep friendships, connections with people. So if there's anything like this that you are committed to in your life, if you work for a company, if you have recently signed a contract as an agreement, or if you are in a relationship or a friendship, which most of you I'm sure are, then this Mars retrograde period can bring some tests and challenges to those areas of your life. It can definitely bring up quite a bit of emotions where pent up frustrations or resentments towards others or even fears can come to the surface for you to address them. And ultimately, Cancer, especially Mars in Cancer, does tend to be kind of passive aggressive or defensive or sidestepping the situation. And so I think ultimately we have to kind of navigate that with other people. So some people might start treating you unfairly or having some kinds of reactions to you, but they're not being forthright with it. They're not just addressing it totally. And so, yeah, I'm definitely seeing something here around people being a little bit weird, and maybe you feeling a little bit weird towards others as well, or towards your commitments towards, that involve other people or an entity. And so this Mars retrograde period is about really tuning into your intuition and asking yourself, like, what needs to be addressed here? What needs do I need to have met? What changes do I want to make? Or do I want to disengage from something or leave something? Those are the kinds of questions that I think we're going to be asking ourselves during this Mars retrograde. So in terms of the cards, I pulled the Nine of Cups followed directly by the Tower. So there to me is, I don't know. I feel like it's just such a contrast here. The Nine of Cups is one of the happiest cards of the deck. It is about emotional fulfillment, getting the wish that you want, feeling like you are just on top of the world. Then we have the Tower, which is falling from grace. Something in our life that we felt was stable or certain is just collapses. So there's something here where I feel like, there's so many messages that I'm getting from this, but I'll just list out a few of them. So one of them is that you could have thought that something was your wish come true, maybe a person or a contract or whatever, and it ends up kind of like not being that and falling away from your life or turning out to be something else entirely. It didn't have the legs to stand on. Some other of you guys, you might find that in the search for what it is that you really desire, you're having to go through a process of Tower moments where things leave your life, or you have some big kind of ups and downs and turmoil and obstacles, and having to pick yourself back up after a loss or a disappointment or a big change. And the sense of like the journey towards the thing that you really want involves Tower moments, involves these moments of again, kind of chaos and big change in your life. The way that you are now, the way that your life is set up now, isn't really structured for that blessing to come in and land and stay. And so the structure and the foundation of your life has to undergo some kind of change. For some of you, this could be in relationships. For others of you, it could be, again, job contracts or really anything. It doesn't just have to be that, but those are going to be some of the primary things that really come out for you. So those are kind of the two biggest, but in regards to these cards, there is this contrast of what I really want versus what I have to sacrifice, what I have to give up, or what I have to surrender or make peace with, this thing not being what I want it to be. And sometimes life is like that. It's full of the contrast and of these kinds of ups and downs, and on our way to the things that we want, or we have the good with the bad and all those things. And I think ultimately this is part of what this transit is about for you. It's about kind of trying to find the calm within the storm with Tranquility card, being like having that right kind of attachment to something where it's like you are able to let something go, like with the Tower. If something's trying to leave your life, if it's not really feeling good, not being too attached to whatever that is or that person, and truly allowing yourself to just like release whatever it is. But then also with the Nine of Cups, staying true emotionally to the essence of what you desire, Because if something doesn't turn out to meet that need or it doesn't align with the essence, you can go search for it elsewhere, but maybe not being as attached to the form of it, because that could undergo some change. And with this tranquility card, it says, although you have felt tested recently, which to me is the Tower, a period of advancement and breaking free is now open. To me, this is a Nine of Cups. Adaptation may be necessary. However, a greater depth of meaning, loyalty, and truth is inspired by this card. So I definitely feel like that's what this time is about, is understanding like what you're devoted to, what you're loyal to, what feels true and authentic to you, and how the things in your life that are not like that are going to start to fall away. And that could be relationships that are inauthentic, again, contracts, whatever, could be, again, anything. But the Tower moment to me is like, these are some tests or some things that aren't going to withstand the test, and you ultimately are going to be broken free to have the thing that you really want by that. I asked Spirit, what's the outcome of this? And I got the Liberation card. So ultimately, you are going to find a sense of freedom and liberation. If you felt really stuck, if you felt repressed, if you felt angry or frustrated, you're coming out of that. You're breaking free from that to come to more of what you want. The other sets of cards here that I have is the Sun and then the Six of Cups. So I feel like there is some through line between these experiences that you're going through, and things from your childhood, things from your past, things from your family, your lineage, your ancestry, things that you've inherited, things that have already happened that are echoing into this life, maybe even from a past life. And I see that with the Sun and the Six of Cups is, I think you're going to have some awareness drawn to the fact that this is, again, a repeated experience. And the Sun is all about like the clarity, the path illuminated, and the Six of Cups is about the connection to our memories and our childhood and our childhood self. So I can see that's part of this. So maybe there's some themes coming up that are worth looking into within your history and your family, and seeing, am I repeating something here? Am I being made aware of some kind of pattern that I can get out of? And it would be best for me. The Sun and the Six of Cups also can indicate something being illuminated from our childhood that was a dream. Like we've always wanted to do that thing. We've always wanted to be in that kind of relationship or go to that place, but maybe we put it on the back burner, or maybe we didn't believe in ourselves enough, or maybe we just forgot about it. And there's something here where it's like reigniting the past, bringing that dream back to life and getting really excited about like the optimism of what that can bring into your life, the light that it can shine into your life, the vitality and the courage that it can give you. And so I feel like there can be some serious reevaluation of many things in our life, but ultimately I think the things that leave are meant to leave. I can see you having some, greater wishes that you're achieving as a result of liberating yourself from those things that weren't going to stand the test of time. And I can see you reigniting maybe with things from the past that have the potential to teach you a lot, or to come back up to serve you, to be, something that you create that you've always wanted to create, or do that you've always wanted to do. So that is what I'm seeing for you, my beautiful Capricorns. If this resonated, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your stories. If you want a reading from me, you can check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I will link in my description. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, next we have Aquarius rising and sun. This Mars retrograde is going to be happening from December 6th to February 23rd. And it's primarily going to be happening in the sign of Cancer. It is going to be a little bit in Leo. So it's going to bring up some stuff around 7th house, which is where your Leo is, and 6th house. So there is going to be some themes around both relationships and kind of like work or our routine and our stability in our life. There's going to be some reevaluation in those areas of our life. Where Mars goes retrograde, it does create a little bit of like procrastination or upheaval or chaos or uncertainty or emotions coming to the surface, all of this to kind of reevaluate these areas of our life. So we might feel like certain relationships are being reevaluated, or our work is being reevaluated, our routine, or maybe even we feel like our health could be a little bit diminished during times like this, Ultimately, this Mars retrograde is about reconnecting with your heart, what your intuition says, what you really want, getting in alignment with your path, making decisions that help you further that, and releasing and processing some of these emotions that you might feel in regards to frustration or unfairness or things not going the way that you want, and having to just kind of, again, process that and make peace with the person or the situation, so that you can ultimately move on from whatever that is. So hopefully that makes sense. I know that's a little bit general, but ultimately some of you guys might find, like, here's some examples that people that you normally work with, that you might find that there's a little bit more of disorganization, projects being delayed, some frustrations in regards to teamwork and the people in your life. Especially with this Two of Cups, you might really find like people are testing your patience with this being in reverse. This is a card of disharmony. So normally the 6th house, 7th house is all about working together, the collaboration, the pairing of the minds or the pairing of the hearts, and how we can achieve more as a unit. But when Mars goes retrograde, especially in Cancer, everyone can start to just like the moodiness can come out. People's feelings about things could be hurt, or people could have different ideas of what is best, or you might find that you're just like less patient with other people and with yourself and with work and the projects, and you might feel like you're getting a little bit frustrated with other people. So there's this kind of energy around things that normally in our day-to-day life are meant to run smoothly. There is a system, there is a routine, there's a process. You might find that when Mars goes retrograde, that all that kind of goes out the window, or at least becomes a little bit dysfunctional, in order for you to go back to the drawing board and reflect on maybe the way that you can change your attitude, your approach, your behavior, your mindset around those things, in order for them to kind of be more in alignment with where you are at this point in your life. Because ultimately, all of our systems, all of our routines, all of our relationships, and our thought processes, our behaviors, all these things need periodic upgrading to match kind of like how our life has changed, how we have changed. And this is one of those check-ins. So ultimately, I feel like people are going to be kind of testing your patience with this strength card. I think it's about kind of having the strength to be patient and keep going in regards to whatever this is. If it's a project or for a relationship, it's like, let's not give up. Let's not just throw in the towel. Let's have patience and perseverance, and also courage to believe that, we can do it, or things can get better, or we can have what we want. And I think that that's a really big thing here. There might also be the opportunity for you, because part of your advice here is leadership. So there might also be an opportunity here for you to reevaluate your position of leadership or influence, either in a relationship or within your workplace. So, how do I take control of the situation? How do I lead this into a way that I want to go, or a direction I want to go? How do I make sure that, I come out on top, or that, us as a collective or a unit succeeds in something? It's like kind of like taking more of the reins and deciding that there needs to be certain changes, or certain things need to be addressed, especially if it's related to work or a project or a routine. And it's like, how can I maybe take more leadership over this, have more agency in this situation, in order to make the outcome a better outcome, in order to make necessary changes for the success of whatever this is, or the success of the organization. I definitely feel like with Two of Cups reversed and then the Eight of Cups upright, I definitely think that some of you guys could be walking away from certain relationships, especially with Mars. If it is retrograding in your 7th house in Leo, then yes, I think there could be some endings here. You're like deciding to leave something. I also feel like there's a almost like a desire to like get out of the struggle with something. So if you have been like struggling in a connection, or struggling in a job, or struggling to find like the right balance for something in your life, like your routine or the kind of work that you're looking for, if it's been like an uphill battle, I can see you ready to kind of walk away from that. And feeling like, just feeling like you're ready to just not engage in this path anymore. And so for some of you, it's going to kind of go in different directions. Some of you, I feel like, are being told to not give up on something in your life. And like, if you're like looking for, if you're looking for a job, for example, maybe it's been disappointing, or people have been disappointing, you've been going through these kind of weird letdowns with certain things around job or relationships in your life, it might say like, don't give up on your search for it. But there's a sense of like walking away from the struggle of it. And yeah, I don't know. I think that part of that comes from the leadership card, where it's like, I can take responsibility for something, or I can direct this in the way that I want to direct this. And there's some things that are going to be outside of your control, of course. But ultimately, with the leadership card, it's like, what are you going to make with what you have control over and with what you have at your disposal? How are you going to make the best out of that situation or out of that thing? And I feel like that's part of how you can, with the Eight of Cups, kind of release or walk away from the drama or the struggle or the emotional ups and downs. It's like, okay, I'm going to focus on what is in my control. I'm going to focus on what I can do best and how I can make the most out of this thing, how I can still look for that job, or how I can still try to get this project done on time. Or maybe I have to pivot and adapt, or maybe this relationship isn't working out, but I have control over where I spend my time with who, and maybe I'll be focusing on myself or my friendships or whatever it is. It's like, kind of like realizing that you can take your life more into your own hands, I guess, and progress things. I mean, yeah, this is not necessarily time for progressing things, because Mars retrograde is a lot more reflection, but it's like a period of reflection and reevaluating on the way that you're approaching things and trying to take more leadership, more accountability, more agency, so that when Mars goes direct on February 23rd, things progress a lot better, because you're maybe doing things in a new way and realizing how much more power or influence you have over the positive outcome that things can become in your life. The last card that I pulled is this Page of Swords in reverse. So there's something here around someone like not having their head on straight. They're maybe not having like the proper plan. They maybe feel like they're a little bit like scatterbrained. They're all over the place. Maybe they're not communicating well. So I feel like part of what you're walking away from is that type of energy. If you are kind of all over the place, or if you're not really organized, or if you're not like dedicating yourself to something, it's like taking that responsibility and realizing, again, with this leadership card, I have control over where I'm putting my energy in terms of my mind. I can learn this thing. I can spend time in my evening about learning this thing, or maybe I need to have this important conversation with someone, and I can sit and address that with somebody. I don't need to like wait for things to happen. I have the say in when things come up. I can bring them up. If you have an issue with your boss, for example, or an issue with somebody at work, it's like, okay, I'm going to take the leadership. I'm going to take it upon myself to address this, instead of having this kind of like defensiveness or poor communication or like letting things fall through the cracks. It's like, no, I'm gonna walk away from that type of energy where I'm not utilizing my mind and my voice in the way that I need to, and I'm gonna gather my resources and address the situation or fix the situation or improve something in your life by realizing that you have the best thoughts or the best communication in order to get past whatever this is. We also have the creative spark. So I feel like some of you guys are like full of really good ideas. But it's funny because the Page of Swords in reverse is somebody who doesn't have a lot of ideas, or they have so many ideas that it's like not organized. So I feel like part of the outcome, because I asked like, what's the outcome of this? I think part of the outcome with this creative spark is getting really clear. So I have like a really inventive solution, or I'm learning how to, again, communicate about this in a way that is going to create resolution for something. There's a sense of like having an idea, a creative breakthrough, a snapshot of something into your future, and following that instead of letting your mind kind of go down all these different avenues, or again, not thinking clearly or communicating clearly. It's like, I'm going to maybe pause and self-reflect around the situation, really make peace with how I feel about it or let out certain resentments or communicate. And then from there, I will have the solution. From there, I will have that creative idea or that next step that will create kind of what I'm looking for in my life where I've been feeling this friction. So hopefully that makes sense. I felt a little like abstract for you guys, but hopefully that makes sense when this event does happen. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Aquarius. If this does resonate, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, you can check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I will link in my description box down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, and last but not least, we have Pisces rising and sun. So for you guys, this Mars retrograde is going to be happening from December 6th to February 23rd, primarily in the sign of Cancer, which falls in your 5th house. So it is taking place in Leo too, but we're going to really just kind of focus on Cancer. So Mars retrograding through your 5th, wherever we have Mars retrograding, we can kind of have our passions questioned, the things that we were really emotionally invested in or excited about, and the things that we loved or we were putting energy into. We can start to question and ask, does this actually feel right for me? Does this feel like it's in alignment with me? Do I feel creatively inspired by this? Do I feel like this is increasing my fortune, or do I feel like this is something that's going to potentially have a negative effect if I continue down this path? And the 5th house is especially concerned with our heart and our desires already, the things that we are gifted at, the things that we're naturally drawn to, the things that make us feel like we're shining from the inside out. And so when Mars retrogrades through here, you might start to question those things. Is this creative project that I'm working on, does this really feel like it still lights me up? Does this feel like it still uses my talents in the best way possible? Is this romantic interest or this relationship really feeling like it's lighting up my heart, or does it feel like it's dragging me down? Do I feel like there are, complicated emotions and things from my past and my family coming up in my relationships with my children? Do I need to kind of clear the air so that I feel like there is a purity and a love there that I feel like is not complicated or not unnecessarily like hurtful? And it's so weird because I thought I just saw like a flame flicker up, or like an ember. So I don't know. It's almost like I saw it and then I didn't see it. So there could be something there in regards to like, your imagination or illusion, or things that you thought were a certain way might be a little bit of a different way. So there might be some message there around that. And I think so that relates very much to this 2 of Swords, because a few things here. 2 of Swords is somebody who is stagnating. They're in indecision, but I really feel like it's also somebody who's just kind of refusing to see something for fully what it is. And I think ultimately Mars retrograde kind of pulls back the veil and has us see the flaws in something. It allows us to pause, and then from that place of pause, we see what is dysfunctional. We see what doesn't feel right intuitively. We're tapping into kind of like what we can't see when we're just moving forward and we're taking in everything in our surroundings and our brain is processing so much. When we have the blindfold on and we just sit there for a second, we can feel into what might feel out of alignment for us. And that's what this period is about. And with this 2 of Swords, there could be something in your life that you're at a crossroads with, something that you are unable to decide, something you are feeling stagnated about, something maybe you don't know if you want to have kids, or on your journey to meeting the love of your life, maybe you're uncertain about somebody that's in your life right now, or maybe you feel like you're uncertain about a creative project and you don't know what direction to take it in. There's something like that going on, which is kind of very 5th house things. And then we have the Knight of Swords in reverse. So this does concern me a little bit, because the 2 of Swords is somebody blindfolded, and then the Knight of Swords is somebody who's like rushing to a goal or an outcome. And it kind of gives me this vibe of like, I'm blindfolded on a horse and I'm running and I don't realize I'm about to run off a cliffside because I'm not looking at my surroundings. I'm not feeling my intuition and listening to it. I'm just diving into things and moving quickly into things. And there's a sense of like instability or poor judgment, or losing the stability of something, losing your grip on something, because you are not looking at where you're going, looking at the impact, tuning into how you feel. And I feel like there's a warning here for my Pisces that you need to open your eyes. Like, don't fall off of the cliff. And this might be really something small. It doesn't have to be anything catastrophic or drastic, but it could just be that there's some, habit or some little like hobby or something that you're doing that's like draining your pockets and you're not aware that it's impacting you this way. Or I don't know, I can't think of super insignificant things, but I think that you can kind of fill in the gaps, that there's something that you might be rushing headfirst into, which can often be also Mars in the fifth is like, I want this, I want it now, I'm going to go in this direction, I'm going to follow my impulses. But when Mars goes retrograde, we have to stop and pause and reflect on where those impulses have gotten us, if it's led us to the right direction, if we have fallen off a cliff. And with the fortune card in reverse, this does kind of feel like there could be some like warning of a misfortune, or like warning of something like not working out in a way. And yeah, I think ultimately I asked for what the outcome is and this card came out, and I did feel like there is a blessing sometimes in the misfortune, or like the thing that we were kind of banking on, like, yeah, this is going to be great. And like, I'm so excited for this. Sometimes with this card in reverse, it's like, it doesn't, like, the project doesn't hit the way that we thought, or we don't feel as connected to that person anymore. And it's like, we start to kind of feel like this is unfortunate. But ultimately, anything that doesn't survive a Mars retrograde, or that is being brought up that feels like it's not super great, it's because there was underlying instability that you were ignoring, that you were running towards the cliff with. And it's trying to show you that this can lead to a misfortune if you don't adjust the reins and open your eyes and look at the potentials of the outcomes of certain decisions or certain beliefs or certain actions. And so ultimately, I feel like there's something in your life. When I asked for advice, I got the transition card. There's something in your life that I feel like you might be, some of you could be resisting the transition, resisting moving into a new path, or letting something go, or making a decision. It's like you're at this impasse really with this Two of Swords, and it's like, but life is still moving forward. So even though you're not deciding with the Two of Swords, there's something in your life that you don't have total clarity on. And even though you're not maybe deciding right now, your life is still moving forward with this Knight of Swords. You're actually moving forward quite quickly. And so your life is going to continue to progress, whether you're moving forward with this decision or not. Like, it's still, the consequences of not deciding are still going to impact you, because your life is still progressing, even if you decide that you want to ignore it and not deal with it or not decide. And so with this transition card, it's like, you need to embrace the need to like decide, basically, or you need to support or get support for a transition. So the transition is a conscious effort for moving from one state into another, and it's a process. It's not just like a second, right? It can be, in the sense that the decision can be just a second, but the process is also the follow through behind that decision and actually doing it. So with this transition card, I feel like it's trying to tell you to support the process of transition. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to do it overnight, but to start to take off the blindfold, make a decision, process how you feel about something, and start to head in a direction instead of just ignoring something and running off of a cliff or something. Okay. You also have the 10 of Wands upright and the King of Pentacles reverse. So the 10 of Wands is somebody who can feel like they're pretty like burdened by something. And so yeah, I feel like there's something in your life that it may be used to bring stability, or I don't know. Sorry, I'm just like arguing with myself. But I feel like with this Knight of Swords, there's ultimately something that you're running towards that I feel like could, again, lead you off a cliff, but also it could lead to like a missed opportunity, because like I mentioned, your life is still moving forward. Time is still progressing. And so when you're not making a decision about something, you could actually miss the open window or the open door at that period of time. And it could lead to, again, either a negative outcome or not getting what you want, or no outcome, which it could be perceived as negative. So there's a sense of like, I need to shit or get off the pot. I need to open my eyes and start to support some type of transition in a particular direction, so I don't miss an opportunity, so I don't fall off a cliff. And ultimately, with the 10 of Wands upright and the King of Pentacles reversed, I feel like this is again a card of like financial instability or emotional instability, or just feeling really like, I don't know, the thing that made you grounded, or the work that you were doing that maybe felt maybe made you feel successful. There's something about like whatever you were using in your life to like have material success or to feel really stable. There's something about this like starting to weigh you down. So it could be a commitment to a relationship that weighs you down. It could be a commitment to a business venture where you're like, actually, this is starting to feel really, this is starting to feel like it's not helping me anymore. It's burdening me. It's not even as stable as I thought it would be. There's something here. I just don't know what it is. I wish I could speak to you guys, but there's something here around like maybe finances changing, or the circumstance of a job changing, or something in your life that you thought was really stable is starting to weigh on you. It's like becoming heavy. And ultimately, I feel like, again, this is all pointing to the direction of needing to make some kind of transition. This could be transitioning into a new job. This could be trying to do something that lights you up a little bit more. This could be transitioning into a new relationship or an independence where you're alone. There's something here where it's like, the fortune of something, what you thought was going to work out in a certain way, or what you hope will work out in a certain way, it's only going to, like, it might not align with exactly what you thought. I kind of feel like this reading is like disappointing. So let me pull some more cards. Like, I want to know what you get out of this, because it's just not seeming very fun, right? Fifth house is usually fun, but this is Mars retrograde. So Spirit, what are they going to get out of this experience? Like, what is the gift or the outcome? Yeah, like, what is the outcome of this experience? Whatever this is, what's the final outcome? When Mars goes direct, pass. Okay, 3 of Swords. Ugh, Judgment. Okay. I don't know, guys. I feel like some of you guys are... I'm like trying to get some positive news here, and I got the fucking 3 of Swords and the Judgment. So I don't know. I feel like there's something in your life that is going to disappoint you or hurt you, and you're going to have to make an important decision to like cut it out, or to end it, or to go in a different direction and support your own transition through it. Because I feel like, I honestly, the other readings didn't seem as negative, but this one feels like a warning. And I think you guys need to hear it. There's something in your life that you're not addressing with the 2 of Swords, or that's really weighing you down, that's burdening you, that you need to make a decision with. But if you don't do it, it could lead to financial instability emotionally, in your material reality, especially feeling like off kilter. It could lead you to missed opportunities, to falling off of cliff, to misfortune. And again, this is such a, this whole thing, I think, is ultimately trying to get you to realize that something is hurting your heart, and that you need to make a different decision around it, an important decision around it with this Judgment card, to gain clarity on like exactly where you're headed, and decide to take the blindfold off in some type of way, and go through the necessary transition of maybe letting something go, or ending something, or facing something. It's like we can't live in this limbo anymore. I think it's going to have some consequences here with Mars retrograde. And yeah, it just feels like a super strong message. I don't like leaving it like that. Your reading is taking up more time than everyone else's. So love you, Pisces. Something's going on here with you guys, and I'm like, I'm feeling it. Spirit, any kind of like, what animal is here to support Pisces? Okay, we have the cat. Page of Swords. This Page of Swords has been coming out a lot. Primal instincts landing on your feet. Ooh, I love that. Yeah, there is something about the cat where they always land on their feet. So there's a sense with the 3 of Swords. I'm getting kind of like tower energy, like something in your life might be might be forcing you to fall, or it might be like you might have to jump ship in some way, or again, transition in some way. But this card is saying you will land on your feet. You can trust your instincts. You can trust the ideas that come to you. You can act on those new ideas. You can act on those like curiosities, or instincts or intuition. And when you do that, you will find that you are always landing on your feet. And I feel like there's also something about cats that like they really know their worth. Cats really build themselves up. They are the kings and the queens. Like they feel like they are above all humans, even though the humans are the ones providing them food. And there's just this sense of like superiority, or like confidence and self-belief. And I feel like that's can be very fifth house as well. Like Leo fifth house is like, I am great at this and everyone watch me be great. And I'm going to slink around and let you like take me in, and I'm the best. So there's something about this where it's like, if you have had things undermine your confidence, undermine your well-being, undermine your emotional stability or financial stability, your stability in your life overall, if there are things that have been eating away at you, this is your time now to make a different choice. Take off the blindfold, face something directly, be honest with yourself, go through a necessary transition. You will land on your feet and you'll start to be able to build up your cat-like confidence over time again. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Pisces. I hope that this message is okay. I'm sorry if it was a little intense, but I do think it's necessary. So if it resonates, I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you want a reading from me, check me out at cosmicclarityastrology.com, which I will link in my description box down below. And I hope you have a great evening. Bye.